Geeks with Beards. Podcast.
Here's the fact, so we got power to the max. You know what tough as nails, when all else fails, call nerves of steel. This is the deal. You better watch out. We're good against people. We got invincible power.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Geeks with Beards podcast. I'm Dan, this is Sean, and this episode, we will be covering Jim Lee's WildC.A.T.S, number 1, from 1992. Before we get into that, Sean, what's been going on since our last episode, man?
We're fully back in show season.
Hell yeah, I seen that. You're back in season 5?
Yes, this is our 5th year.
Hell yeah, man.
So we did Johnson City last weekend, and this weekend we're doing Asheville and Oak Ridge.
Sweet. How was the turnout for your first show, man?
It was good.
Was it?
Our new member's cool, and went well.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I watched the first episode of Daredevil.
Oh, the new one, Born Again?
Yeah.
How was it?
It's good so far.
Has it been good?
Yeah.
Does it kind of pick up from Netflix?
Yes, and it gives you a shocking event, like almost right off the bat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know I'd read something about there was some people had watched maybe a couple episodes of it or whatever, and they could tell the difference that they had to do some re-editing, reshoots, maybe because ideas had changed from the concept of it or something.
Okay.
They could tell differences. I don't know if that's true or not, if that's just their perception of it, but
I haven't came across anything like that.
Okay.
And so far, the cast is still great. The writing,
good.
I mean, it's just the first episode I watched, so I can't judge it too harshly.
Yeah.
But the cinematography is still good. I was kind of worried about that, where it was coming from Netflix.
well, I mean, yeah, even though it's still Disney Plus, you assume they're going to put a little money into it, you'd hope.
It's
make it look good.
Speaking of it being Disney Plus, it's bloodier than I expected too.
I've read articles about that, yeah. That
It's
it was
probably worse
actually
than Netflix.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's surprising because Netflix was pretty violent.
I was like, I guess they were embracing the Deadpool route.
Well, that too, and plus, I guess the way that it was on Netflix, they didn't want to. I guess they're afraid if they watered it down a little bit. I mean, he wasn't super violent in Netflix, but violent enough. Mm-hmm. You know, I guess Punisher was the worst of those 3 shows, probably when it comes to violence, which is expected.
Well, it should be.
So I'm curious. Which I know there's a cameo at least. I'm not going to, I don't know because I know you've only watched one episode. I think there's a cameo at some point. I'm wondering if they'll do any of the other Netflix characters, like bring them over in a continuation series maybe or something. Or
well, I heard that they were going to try to either do another Defenders type thing or maybe give them another season. But
I'd love to see some more Jessica Jones. I always liked that show. I thought that was a pretty good show.
Yeah, that's probably my second favorite.
Luke Cage was good.
I didn't care for Luke Cage.
I didn't care for Iron Fist.
I loved Iron Fist. Especially that first season. I was like, man, this is awesome.
That's the only one I watched. I didn't do the second. I never went back for the second season.
Second season wasn't bad.
I think that one, and I didn't finish season 3 of Daredevil. So if I plan on watching this one, I need to watch season 3.
Yeah, you'll definitely have to because it does talk about some things. So.
Okay. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying that, and that's about all I've had time for. What about you?
I'm trying to think if I read anything. No, I don't think I've read anything new off the top of my head that I can think of. I did get some new stuff in, but like I said, they're all really good. It's just nothing really that sticks out in my head at the moment. So the Silverhawks introduced bluegrass, but it was okay. It wasn't like Quicksilver where he was like RoboCopped into the Silverhawks. This one's a little bit different. It's kind of a little bit more bland or whatever. What else did I get? Oh, I got the first issue of Thundercats Lost, which is a spin-off miniseries. It's got other characters in it. Bengali and Linkso and Pumaira. That was actually pretty good.
Benghazi.
What? Bengali. Bengali. Yeah, he's basically he is a white tiger compared to Tigra, which is like just a regular orange colored tiger. Yeah, Bengal tiger, I guess. Yeah, there you go, Bengal tiger.
Oh, okay.
So he was really good. I like it. He's one of my favorite characters from the old cartoon. Other than that, the other ones were good, but again, nothing spectacular. G.I. Joe was awesome. I liked it. It's always been good. Have I watched anything? Oh, I went back and rewatched, because I saw the trailer for the sequel. I went back and rewatched The Accountant with Ben Affleck from 2016, because the sequel's coming out like 10 years later.
Wow.
The trailer looks good, and John Bernthal, Punisher, I forgot he was in the first film. He plays Ben Affleck's character's younger brother.
See, I just can't get behind him. He's a cool dude, like in real life, but him as an actor just drives me nuts.
It's hard for me to get away from his character from Walking Dead.
He's always going to be Shane.
Even
when he was acting like the Punisher, he was still Shane.
Yeah, even in this first movie, The Accountant, like I said again, I forgot he was in it, and he basically kind of plays, I don't know, I guess mercenary, something like that, and it feels like Shane. I think it's just, unfortunately, it's just his natural swagger and attitude, yeah. And I'm assuming the second movie will probably be mostly the same. Maybe a little touch of Punisher in there now because, I don't know. But yeah, other than that, that's all I've got into. So we will jump into this. I know you're excited.
I about threw this in the fire pit.
No.
Not to spoil anything, but let's get with it.
No. That's a mint copy for like $1 that I found, man. Hell no.
You paid $1 too much, my friend.
No, I didn't. Hey, the cover price was $1.95 and 92. So.
Yeah, that was way too expensive then.
All right. So Jim, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask, who wrote and drew this?
Mr. Jim Lee. He drew it. He wrote it. Well, yeah, I think he co-wrote it.
Yeah.
And, of course, unfortunately, I didn't write it down. There is other person that did like the inks and stuff, but yeah, he did write it and draw it. Which again, and you know this better than I do, he only did that for a handful of issues and he stepped away.
He can't handle it?
No, he was building his Wildstorm universe.
Oh, whatever.
So, but hey, we'll get into it. There was a couple other big name guys that took over some of the writing duties for the first series. But all right, yeah, from 1992, WildC.A.T.S, Covert Action Teams #1. We opened in Antarctica on July 29th, 1980. At a U.S. research station, Zebra, or is it? Zebra, sorry. 2 men investigate a crater, and one of the guys like, what are we doing this meteor crater for? The other scientist like, nah, dude, this ain't no meteor crater. This is from a Soviet space station that fell from space. He's like, what? So they're looking into the crater, which I'm getting like the Thing vibes from this. I'm just like, don't, no. You just see a hole in the ground. Don't just look in it. There's no telling what's going to jump out at you. So they start looking around the crater and they see this orb, and it's like a real shiny metal chrome looking orb, and one of the guys go to grab it, and all of a sudden, before they can get their hands on it, boom, here comes this woman out of the hole, and she's all shiny, most of her body's silver except for her face. And if you're a fan of the WildCats, then you know that this is Void. This is I guess she's the kind of like a cherubim, I don't know, she's a supercomputer or something like that, I believe, if I remember right from like the cartoon.
Okay.
Which might be different from the comics, but I think she's like some kind of ancient cherubim, I don't think she's flesh and blood. I think she might be like an android or something like that, but she's really super intelligent. And she just leaps out of the hole. And, she keeps saying before she vanishes, she keeps saying, like, you do not comprehend the power that this orb contains. Give me the orb. Don't touch it. And then she just vanishes in thin air. And the 2 scientist guys are just looking around like, what in the hell was that just happened? Then we jump to 1992, August 1992, in McLean, Virginia. We're at the International Operations Crisis Control Center. Say that 3 times fast.
loves his acronyms. There's way too many in this comic.
So IOCCC.
In the bubbles, they'll say so and so 3 letters, and then like halfway down the description, you find out what those 3 letters are.
Yeah,
which is fine every once in a while.
Yeah.
All right, continue.
But that's a long one, though. That's a long one.
It was, yeah.
So we see 2 men, and they're discussing an explosion that happened in Georgetown, and apparently 2 cats. Covert action team members. That's all they say. They don't say wildcats. They say cats. No, I don't think honestly, I don't remember one time in the book, unless it's done by Marlowe, does he actually say wildcats. I think he just says cats, I think, in the first issue, I think. I might be mistaken, but he might say wildcats one time, maybe. But, so they think that that 2 cats were fighting and, killed at least a dozen civilians in the fight and destroying 2 city blocks. And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, man, this ain't a good way to get your team going out there, Marlowe. You're getting these guys already eyeballing you, man. But they're government guys. And so they're going to have to come up with a cover story because, again, it's, the covert action team. So they're trying to keep it hush hush from the public. So the cover story is that the Libyans are to blame.
Of course.
And that it was a terrorist attack, basically. It's 1992. I mean,
Damn it, Doc Brown.
So, they say there was no witnesses or survivors, but some DNA was found belonging to Jacob Marlowe.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right here.
Yeah, man.
This Jacob Marlowe dude.
Mm-hmm. The Lord Imp that we find out later, he's called. He little feller.
He is little, but I didn't realize that to the end of the comic, but
yeah.
It's just Cable. He looks exactly like Cable.
He's not Cable.
Just about every person in this comic looks like an X-Men.
Oh yeah, you can definitely see hints of X-Men.
He is Cable.
Yeah.
He's got the hair and everything.
You definitely can see that for sure.
Okay.
Think about it. 2 years before he was working at Marvel on X-Men #1.
May not have been that long. I thought it was
it
91, and then this came out in 92, right?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought it was 1990 when that first X-Men issue dropped.
Could be wrong. But either way, within a year or 2.
I was going to say within a year or 2, yeah. So yeah, you can definitely see it. You can see that this is maybe like his middle finger to Marvel saying, hey, look, I got my own X-Men. Kind of,
He's just ripping them off, man.
But the difference is, though, see, these are not mutants, I guess you could say. They're descendants of an ancient alien race that landed on Earth thousands of years ago.
They almost have a danger room scene in here.
They do. That's true. I'm not going to lie. That's true. That's true.
All right, continue.
Hey, I'm just saying. But, so, they say that there was some DNA found that belonged to Jacob Marlowe. And then all of a sudden, Void shows up. And she disappears just as quickly as she shows up in front of the guys. Doesn't say anything. She's like, zoom, zoom, just ports out. And and both of them just stare at her. They just stare at the place where she was standing like, what the hell was that? Now we cut to the present New York City, August 8th, 1990. Where you see Jacob Marlowe, he's homeless, sleeping in an alley. 2 guys, I guess they're thugs or bums or whatever. They see Marlowe and laying in the alley like, hey, look at that little guy. He's in our alley. What the fuck him up? Well, don't say this. This is what I'm thinking they're saying. They're like, what the fuck him up? He is in our territory. So they both go after Marlowe and they decide they're going to attack him. Because they see him as trespassing. I'm like, okay, sure, you own the alley, I guess, guys. So, one of the women says, hey, he's homeless. So, he's like, that's the polite way to say it. Don't say he's a bum, say he's homeless. I'm like, okay, sure. I guess it doesn't really matter. So they jump Marlowe. And as they're jumping him and they're trying to kick at him and punch at him, stuff like that, he shoots out or emits like some kind of power or energy from his hand to kind of stave him off. And of course it does. It scares them back. They kind of jump back real quick, like, what the hell was that? And then they try to stab him. But as soon as they go after him like that, Void shows up and saves him. Basically, kind of fights the guys away, scares them away. And she turns around and looks at Marlowe, and he's just like, what? Because he's drunk. He's barely coherent at this moment. Void tells him, she's like, you are the Lord Imp, one of the 4 Lords of Power. champion of all mankind. And he's just like, what? Okay. She tells him, she continues to tell him, she says that the cabal, which is
cable.
No.
Let me just change a word.
And there's different letters, no E. is once again in power. And she was sent to prepare him for the coming war and that his life will never be the same. And I'm assuming, I didn't look it all up and I apologize for that. The cabal, I'm assuming, has to deal with Hellspawn and the Daemonites. That's what I'm guessing. That's what I'm guessing. And like I said, I looked up a little bit of stuff, but I didn't look up a whole lot, so that's what I'm guessing. So then we cut to 1992, which is, I guess, technically the present or whatever. August 8th, 1992. And again, we see Marlowe sleeping in an alley. He wakes up. He's stumbling around. He's like, oh. Phew. He's like, whew. And he's, barely paying attention. He walks out in the street and gets hit by a cab. Don't kill him, but he gets hit by a cab. And the dude, basically the cab driver yells at him, like, you hit my damn cab. Watch where you're going. Marlowe just keeps walking. Doesn't think anything about it. And he goes to this big, business building, hotel building or whatever. And he's greeted by the door person, I guess you'd call them. I don't know what the official name is at the people that stand at the opening of hotels and stuff. Not security.
The doorman?
Is that it? Doorman?
Yeah.
Okay. He's greeted. They're all like, good morning, Mr. Marlowe. He's greeted by a woman and another man. And again, they can, they greet him, say, good morning, Mr. Marlowe. Did you have a rough night again, Mr. Marlowe? And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, everybody knows him. And it shows you a montage of panels as he's going up in this elevator. He's going to the penthouse, PH. He's going to the penthouse. He's getting a shave. He's getting his hair done. He gets a new fresh suit put on. The door opens up and he looks like he does on the cover. Clean shaven, nice looking hair, nice looking suit, a cigar in his hand. And one of the people that works for him says, he's like, man, he said, I appreciate everything you guys do. You guys make me look like $1 billion. And the guy says, well, to be correct, sir, he says, about $2 billion is what you're worth. I'm like,
at the opening bell this morning.
At the opening bell this morning. He's like 2.5 billion to be exact. And he walks into the penthouse room, and Void is standing there, and she's telling him of a dream that she had about someone who is very powerful and has the sphere that we saw earlier in the issue, and that she's trying to stop this person. And it shows a picture of the person, and it's like they're wearing a mask over their face, except for just when you see their eyes, was kind of a yellowish color, and then like a head wrapping, so you can't tell who they are. You assume they're some kind of super villain or alien or something, but you can't tell. And they have possession of the orb, and she's trying to stop them, but they're using the power of the orb to fight back at her. In the process, basically, it's destroying her. It looks like it's almost unraveling her, destroying her, ripping her apart. And she says, I can't stop them in my dream, and they're threatening the future of mankind. And she tells them, like, look, we have to stop this prematurely before it happens. We have to nip it in the bud, basically, before it happens. And Marlowe's basically like, well, good thing we've had these past couple of years to get a team together, to help out. So as he's saying that, they're going down to, like you said, kind of a danger room.
To me, my X-Men.
A hangar kind of thing, And we get introduced to our first Wildcat, Spartan. And he's standing there, and Jacob basically asks him, how everything's going. He's like, oh, it's going good. He said Maul and Warblade are doing a little bit of training, and they'll be ready to go. And then no sooner does he finish the sentence, boom! Here comes Warblade just flying out of a door or whatever, and blasts into the wall next to Spartan. And Maul comes out and basically kind of looks at Warblade like, come on, get up, let's go. It can't be all you've got. And Marlowe kind of looks at Spartan like, oh, they're ready, huh? Is that what you're telling me? They're ready? And I love Warblade. I had him as a toy because they did make a short run toy line by Playmates, and I liked his figure. I had him and I had Grifter as a toy. I think my brother might have had Maul. They were cool toys. Unfortunately, they were like the Turtles, though. They had them in them action poses, so you could barely stand the damn things.
Hey, they stand well.
They were good size figures, too. I think they were like 7-inch tall toys. So they were quite large.
Damn.
Toys. Yeah, they were quite large. So after that, we cut to the Behemoth, which is the ship of the Daemonites and specifically Hellspawn. It's always underwater. I think it was even almost always underwater in the cartoon. At least this first issue, it's underwater. And so Hellspawn, he's there with various people in the room, and it doesn't name them. And I meant to look it up, but I forgot to. There are specific names to these people, and they are all, most of them are all Daemonites. Except for one, and the one lady that's in there with him she is a Coda assassin, and the Coda was a all women group that was on the planet Kara, which is where the Cherubim, the good guys, the Wildcats, their ancestors came from. It's like I think it's like an all woman, like, I don't know if it was religious or a warrior kind of group or whatever.
I got like Valkyrie vibes.
Yeah, because Zealot is one of them as well.
Yeah.
And she definitely has that Valkyrie, Little Wonder Woman kind of vibe. Like she's a, skilled fighter and everything, So that's where this one woman she is. And again, this is the very first issue, so it doesn't explain why she's working with the Daemonites, against the cats. It doesn't say. But they're all standing in the room. And they are talking about going to take over the earth. And one guy named Alberto Casillas, I think that's his name, he's found out to be a traitor. And how he betrayed the Daemonites and Hellspawn was he was feeding not Marlowe, but another person, kind of I don't know what he was. If he was an alien or something. Remember the one you'll see later, Marlowe goes and talks to him about voodoo? I don't know what he was, alien or something. Well, you find out that this guy, Alberto, who's supposed to be working with Hellspawn and the Daemonites, and he is human, had been feeding information to this guy so Marlowe could get information on where the other special people, I forgot what they call them, I don't know if they call them anything specific, but basically the other Cherubim people that have the abilities. So
like the metas.
Kind of like metas, yeah. So we get introduced to another villain that was pretty prominent in the cartoon. His name is Pike. Now, he's a little bit more Deadpool looking, I think, than Grifter is.
I don't know. Deadpool's mask was, like, if he didn't have that blonde hair coming out, that would be Deadpool's mask.
Kind of close, yeah.
Oh, it's almost spot on. Even the black around the eyes.
See, it's more of like a handkerchief kind of hanging out. Well, kind of.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It is.
It's more jagged. But, so, Alberto's killed by Pike. Which is one of Hellspawn's like kind of top guard dudes or whatever, And I think he's human. I don't remember. I think he's human. Again, the first issue didn't give you a lot of information. And Hellspawn says that we must find the third gifted one.
Oh, okay.
Before Marlowe and the Cherubim can find them. So they consider them gifted ones, apparently. And real quick, basically...
That's another X-Men reference.
Yeah.
All right.
So real quick, basically, and we'll go into a little detail on a couple of the Wildcats after we're finished with the issue. The Wildcats, are basically descendants of an alien race called the Cherubim. And they left their home planet in search of another inhabitable planet. Again, I unfortunately didn't research this a whole lot. I'm sorry about that. They land on Earth thousands of years ago, but the Daemonites also follow them. Well, the Cherubim, to kind of blend in and stuff, and I think they're automatically humanoid looking as it was, they decide to integrate themselves into the human population. So they breed, and with the early humans.
They're half-bloods.
Yes, so they're hybrids, they're half-breeds. So, and I don't think all humans have the ability. I think there's only certain ones that have the ability that can be, that's there that they can, activate or whatever. And the Daemonites, on the other hand, they kind of look like dragon, gremlin-looking creatures, and they possess people. They can possess the humans and control them. But once they leave the bodies, or forced to leave the bodies, I think the human dies. I don't think they survive the situation when it happens. So that's just a little bit of background that I had on it. So we cut to Georgetown. We go back to Georgetown, and we go to a strip club called the Hot Spot. And this is our first introduction to Grifter. Grifter was just from the cartoon, because that's the only introduction to Wildcats I ever had. I've never read a comic till this first issue. Grifter was always my favorite character. I always liked him. So he's at the strip club, and he's looking for the gifted one. And we find out that the one that they're looking for works at the strip club. She is a stripper, and it is Voodoo.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you here.
Sure.
And it's the only compliment I'm going to give this book.
Okay.
I do love, just in comic books in general, when they do a splash page and it makes you turn the comic.
Oh, dude, I love that. Todd did it with Spawn in the first issue, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and probably the best example I can think of is the Court of Owls, Batman, where they go through the maze and you actually have to keep flipping the comic.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I got that, yeah.
Yeah. So, big fan of that, even though the art looks like it's done with Wolverine's claws. I'm going to put up some pictures on our socials. I've got great examples.
I put the cover up.
Oh, no, it's worse than this.
It's not worse than this.
Yeah, when we get done, I'm going to show you some
At least
pictures.
they don't look like Jay Lee's, 3-year-old watercolors.
At least they present shapes.
What? Yeah, okay.
Continue.
Anyway. So Grifter, he discovers, because he's sitting there talking to the bartender, and just kind of bullshitting around or whatever. And I guess the bartender knows Grifter, I suppose. But yeah, so they discover that Voodoo is the gifted one that they're looking for. And her ability is she can actually see if you are a Daemonite possessed person. She can actually see it. I don't know if she's the only cherubim that can see that, but as far as this team goes, as of right now, she is. And I think that's one reason I think it's one reason the Daemonites were looking for her, because they're like, well, shit, she can see us. We can hide from everybody else because we look like normal humans from everybody else, but not her. She can see us. I'm not sure if in the comics she could do this, but in the cartoon, if I'm not mistaken, she could actually force the Daemonites out of the humans somehow, I believe. And I could be wrong about that as well, but I think so.
Kind of like exorcising them?
In a way, yeah. I think she was kind of like an exorcism, yeah, for sure. And Grifter says, he's like, well, he says, my sister's source was right. I'm like, who's your sister? I'm like, okay, we'll find out here in a minute who his sister is. But, so two members of the Cabal and a Coda assassin that I mentioned earlier, they show up. And it doesn't say how they found out where she was. I don't know if maybe they were following Grifter or not. They just show up. They just show up at the same strip club, and they automatically know that Voodoo is the one they're looking for. Or yeah, I don't think she exposes herself. I think they just find out. I'm just like, okay, left a little bit of something out there, Mr. Lee. I don't know how they got there, but okay, they're there.
Wow.
You hush. And they say the Coda assassin tells the other two members, she's like, if she resists, you kill her. And to be very cautious of Grifter. And another member shows up, Zealot. And that's the one he calls his sister. They're not related. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, as the comic goes on, you find out actually they had a relationship at one point. And she is full-blood cherubim. So she's, I don't know how old she is, but she's like full-blood cherubim. She's not a descendant. She's like full-blood cherubim. But she also was part of the Coda, the all-female kind of group that used to live on the home planet. And you find out, I read a little bit about this, you find out later on that she's, even though he's a man and it's not really supposed to be allowed, she's been teaching Grifter the ways of the Coda, kind of how to fight and their beliefs and all that stuff like that. Because he's got a little bit of a rocky background. We'll touch on that here in a little while. So they say, hey, you be really careful of Grifter and Zealot. Don't just take them for granted. So the two men, they go after Voodoo. But again, like I said, she can see what they really look like. She can see that they're Daemonites, that they're alien creatures. Unfortunately, though, they start kind of blasting away with their weapons and stuff. They kill a couple of bystanders. And at this time, Grifter doesn't have his mask on. And he does this in the cartoon. He didn't always wear his mask all the time, so apparently secret identity is not a big thing for him. You know, a lot of times it's off. So he pulls his mask down, and he pulls his two guns out, and he just starts shooting back at the Damonites. And the two Damonite guys, they activate some kind of, they call them flash suits. To me, it looks almost like, not Iron Man, but it's almost like some kind of armor suit, space armor suit kind of. Maybe kind of like how they did in the first G.I. Joe movie when they put those two suits on. It's kind of like that. So Grifter and the two guys keep fighting, and Grifter's shooting at him, but his blasts aren't really doing anything because those suits are kind of protecting him. And then you see that a news report, we cut back to Marlowe and the rest of the Wildcats, and they're at I think it was Halo Corporation, or Halo Enterprises, the company that Marlowe runs, I believe it's called. So you cut back to them, and they're watching a news report about the attack. And Marlowe and the Wildcats, they're watching it, and they decide, hey, we gotta go. And Marlowe is kind of like, he's thinking to himself, he's like, well, whether we're ready or not, we kind of got to go. The Damonite's kind of forcing our hands on this. We've got to go. We've got to save Voodoo. So Grifter, he shoots at the Coda assassin, and he thinks that she's dead, but she's not. You know, she's playing dead. And then the Wildcats show up, and they start fighting. Because, like I said, Grifter's kind of having a little bit of a hard time with those two guys because of those suits on. So they show up, they help take out the two guys, and Marlowe, he's about to be killed. And then Zealot shows up. We get our first shot of Zealot. It's a full page artwork of Zealot. And I tell you what, I don't know about nowadays. I don't remember his X-Men art that well. I'm assuming it's pretty similar.
It should be. You stole most of it.
Hush. Jim can draw some ladies. I'm sorry. His women are beautiful.
I will give you this. His women look all right.
They got legs for days. His women.
The only Wonder Woman action figure I have is a Jim Lee.
That'd have been what, New 52? Probably.
Yeah, it was.
That's when he took on. Yeah,
and it's the best Wonder Woman figure I've seen. We'll have to review that one.
Yeah, day. I hated that Superman suit, but other than that, the artwork looked really good though. But yeah, he can draw some ladies because you get a full page of Zealot just standing there.
He doesn't sketch the ladies as much as the guys.
Too much. It's not sketching.
It's just sketch lead.
It's detail lines. So look, you couldn't tell that was Spartan's crotch if he didn't have them detail lines on there. I'm just saying.
It looks like Wolverine just went at him.
It's not.
Yeah, it does.
Wolverine's only got 3 claws. That's like plenty of lines.
Well, I mean, Wolverine doesn't stop.
Anyway. So Zealot shows up. She saves Marlowe. And I've always loved the way Zealot looked in the cartoon and stuff. And this looks just as amazing in the cartoon, or the comic book. So yeah, they talk. They're talking to each other a little bit. And the Coda assassin that Grifter thought he had killed, unfortunately, did not kill her. And she's got a little explosive device, detonator in her hand. And I don't know when this happened, but at some point she's planted a bomb in the strip club at some point. And basically she is kind of like in that first issue of Wonder Woman. She's basically like, look, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to take out you bitches with me.
Yeah.
So before the Cats and Marlowe can stop her, she hits the trigger and she blows up the strip club. And of course, unfortunately, there's a few other adjacent buildings that kind of get in the explosion as well. And we find out the scene that we saw earlier in the comic of those two guys looking at the report about the damage was this moment. So they showed us a little future earlier in the comic book. So this moment here is what those two guys at that, whatever the hell that association was called, that they were looking on there. And apparently that's where he got attacked, is why they found Marlowe's blood. Now, I don't know. I'm assuming because he's a public businessman, his DNA's on file because they just said, oh, DNA from Marlowe. I'm like, okay. I would think if you're part of a covert team or the leader of them, you keep that shit under wraps. You would have like your public blood records or whatever, you know.
Nobody seems to care in this universe about anything.
Man, oh God. If I decide to collect this, I'm only going to get Wildcats. I'm not trying to get the rest of that Wildstorm universe. There's so many books that Jim tried to pump out, man. So the Coda assassin blows everything up. And it shows it, which you know it's not, but it shows it like everybody just got caught in the explosion. All the cats got caught in it. Of course, we know from the earlier page that at least a dozen civilians died, unfortunately. And of course, then we cut to Hellspawn. And he is watching some news footage. And there's somebody sitting in there with him. And I had to look up who this person was because I didn't remember who this was. So he's sitting in there and he's thinking that the cats are dead. He's just, hey, they're gone, they're dead. And he tells that he's talking to the person in the room with him, which you find out is his mole in Washington, D.C., which I think he mentions it earlier in the issue, that he's got an inside person at Washington, D.C. that's going to help the whole, basically kind of the whole resurrection of the Daemonite species, the whole taking it over the planet. And it's called Project Reunification is what Hellspawn calls it. And he's like, now with the Cherubim forces dead, he said, now it can begin. And with your help, it'll go without a hitch. And then the person that he's talking to kind of, Jim draws him just looking at basically like he's looking at the reader with a big shit-eating grin on his face. And that's how the issue ends. And I'm like, well, who the hell is this supposed to be? I'm assuming it's supposed to be somebody important. So I had to look it up, and you find out, and I don't know how long this lasts in the comic book, you find out that
It's Scott Summers.
No, that it's Vice President Dan Quayle.
Oh, okay.
Of course, it's a Daemonite who has possessed him. And I'm like, oh Lord. It's like, doesn't really look like what I remember Dan Quayle looking like back in the 90s, but okay. And that's how the issue ends. And I found out after I picked this up at the antique store that this is technically one of 4-issue miniseries.
Which was intended as 3.
Technically it's supposed to be 3, but Jim stretched it to 4. I did not know that when I picked this up, so we might continue the story later on at some point. But it's all called, I think it's all called Resurrection Day. I think it's the little story. I think Wildcats and maybe a couple of other Image titles did these little mini-series before they did technically ongoing. Now, Todd didn't do that, I don't think. I think his Spawn #1 just started as an ongoing series, I think. But the difference with Jim and some of the other ones was Jim didn't renumber them. He didn't go 1, 2, 3, 4, then 1.
Because he can't count.
You shut up. He can count. He's Asian, damn it. He can count.
That's racist, man.
I'm Asian. I can say that.
That's true.
But yeah, and, because a lot of people, when they do miniseries, they'll have their own numbering. And then if it kicks off as an ongoing series, they'll restart the numbering again. He didn't do that. He just continued it with 5, 6, blah, 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 blah.
Even like when it's intended to be a miniseries, they'll put like one of whatever.
And see, before I handed this off to you, I was reading some of the first page when you open it up, and it says 1 of 3.
Oh, it did?
I missed that. It says 1 of 3. And then remember, I told you off mic that I'd read that he actually stretched it to 4 issues.
Yeah.
But yeah, it did. I missed that the first time I was reading it. If I'd known that, I'd have held off on this until I grabbed the other ones, but I didn't know that.
I bet everybody else missed that too.
And I didn't look it up either, unfortunately. But yeah, that was my first introduction to the Wildcats comic. I like it. I think I may try to pick up the whole run because this is the first series that was done by Image Comics. It was only 50 issues, 51 if you count. They did a 0 issue, I think a year after. About a year later, they did a 0 issue that's a little bit more of a background issue. So I guess technically there's 51 issues of this run. Plus, I think they did a couple of other, maybe little mini-series or whatever. This was before Jim sold it to DC. I think it was 98 when he sold the whole Wildstorm universe.
Traitor.
And unfortunately, Wildcats was part of his Wildstorm universe, so Wildcats went with it. So I think I may get the original run because I read stuff and heard people say the DC runs weren't that good. I don't know. I can't speak on that. I don't know if they were or not, but I think if I decide to, I'm just going to stick with this original Image run, I think 50 issues are doable. I think I could do that,
Yeah, because they don't run that much.
Not really. MyComicShop.com, most individually are like $2 to $2.50 depending on the grading scale. Some are a little bit higher. I got this one for $1, and I mean, it's legit, almost mint condition. And I looked on their website. You can't find it on their website for maybe under $8, $9. So I'm like, hell yeah, for $1, I feel like I got lucky on that one. So what'd you think about it? Besides the artwork.
Okay.
What about the story?
It It has too many words, but it's a 90s comic.
I was going to say, I don't think it's got as much in it as the Death of Superman did what we read.
Well, the first few pages did, for sure. But as you went on, it got better.
It didn't have as many exposition boxes, that's for sure.
That's true. I will say, story, it's okay.
Well, it is technically one of 4 issues, so...
Also true. We won't gauge it too hard on that.
Yeah.
But as far as the writing goes, okay.
As far as the writing goes.
So, personally, we all know I hate Jim Lee's art.
Okay.
Barring that.
Why? No, really, no.
Okay.
Seriously, I'm going to touch on this. Serious, no bullshit, because I always aggravate Sean.
Yeah.
Why do you dislike Jim Lee's artwork?
I'm going to pull up a picture here.
Okay.
And I'll post it on our socials for...
Okay. That's the first page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that?
Okay, you got crisscross lines showing nothing.
But that's his style, I guess.
Okay, that's fine. That's his style.
Yeah.
It's not for me, though.
Okay, that's fine.
It takes away so much from what's going on, and it's just like somebody just...
Yeah, but to me, I feel like is that supposed to be maybe his form of shading, maybe?
Well, no, because he's got shading, too. That's the problem.
Well, that's his 5 o'clock shadow. That's hair on his face.
See, it's so hard to tell. It's going across his eye.
Yeah.
Like he's got shading across his eyes, and then he's got those lines on top of it.
I've never been bothered by it, but I can understand.
And he's not the only one. He's just the worst offender of it.
Ever since I've known you, you've hated Jim Lee's artwork.
I've hated
and
it
I've known
since
this
day
man.
one.
I've known this man for almost 17 years now, and he's hated Jim Lee's artwork.
It just triggers something in me. I'm like, no.
And that's fine. It's not for you. I get that. To me, I love it.
Yeah, and most people do. I get I'm in the very minority.
The only thing that bugs me about this, and this may not be true with what books he's done, but what bugs me about this is he don't stick around, though, that much on the books, unfortunately.
Well, when you draw 17,000 lines like a damn Etch-a-Sketch, no wonder you can't stick around.
Because when New 52 kicked off, he was over Justice League for a while. But I don't think he ran maybe no more than 5-6 issues of that. Granted, I understand at DC he's like one of the top executives. I get that.
Even before that, even when he was doing Hush, it was only 12 issues at the most? Yeah.
And what I read about this one, and take it with a grain of salt, because it was on a wiki, not Wikipedia, but a wiki. It said that he had trouble keeping deadlines. I'm assuming it means for Wildcats. And they said one of the reasons for that was I think he was trying to take too much on. He was trying to build his Wildstorm universe that he was creating, which included Gen 13. Damn, I forgot the other books now that was on there too. But he was trying to do that. Shut up. So they said that was one thing too, but he did come back and forth as far as drawing. I know he wrote up to, I think, at least these first 4 to 5 issues. I think he was the writer and artist. Then, like I was saying earlier, then we would get people like Chris Claremont. He would come on, I think, issue 9 or 10 for a 3 or 4 issue run. And he came on to do another kind of mini series type thing. He introduced a couple new characters. And then I think around 20, 21, something like that, Alan Moore came on and took over writing duties for a little while. And a lot of people say that the Alan Moore stories are probably some of the best of the whole 50-issue run.
Of course, it's Alan Moore.
People said they really like Claremont's too. They said his few issues that he would come back and forth on, they said were really good as well. And I want to say at least for his first time on there, the issue 9 or 10 that he did, Jim did come back to draw it. Chris wrote it, but Jim come back to draw it.
He's like, we could do X-Men again.
That's kind of what the article said. He's like, hey, get the team back up with my X-Men guy, you know. And then there was another guy that came on after them. I think his name was James Robinson or John Robinson, I believe they said, come on as a writer as well. And then Jim's buddy that he brought with him from Marvel, I think it said Brandon Choi. I think he's the one that kind of helped him kind of co-create it. They said he kind of stepped away for a little while and then he came back. And I think he might have took over some writing duties too. Yeah. So I don't think Jim permanently went away. I think he would pop back in every once in a while because I have went and picked up a few more issues last week, and there are certain ones that he is drawing that's later on, and then there's some you can definitely tell the artwork's completely different. And I think there's somewhere down the line, I haven't looked up what issue it is, your buddy Jay Lee comes and draws.
Oh, the best Lee.
So I probably won't be able to tell which one it is but once I read that one. But I mean,
the characters actually look like real people.
But anyway, so besides that, overall, would you recommend it to people that's never read Wildcats?
I would recommend it to people who love Jim Lee.
Yeah.
and who love 90s comics.
Yep. And Image Comics, too, because this was one of the kickoff titles. It was this one, Spawn, The Savage Dragon. I forgot the other ones off the top of my head now.
I don't think, and like, I'm not going to say if you're a Spawn fan, you'll like this, but I think if you're like a 90s X-Men fan, you're probably more like.
Yeah, because you look at that cover, and I mean, people have said it, I've read it before we covered this today. That is his X-Men kind of team. Like, it was kind of him saying F you to Marvel, kinda, in a way, you know?
Yeah, but it's still a watered-down version of it.
It is. It may get a little bit more violent as the issues go on. Like I said, I'll find out.
That's what he should have played into, is like make it like a very graphic.
It may get darker once the book goes on.
Almost like The Boys type of deal.
It may get darker once it goes on, because I've read a couple of things. It gets a little... not really political, I guess you could say, but it gets to a point where they eventually supposedly go back to the home planet of Kara, and you kind of find out it's kind of a caste system, that there's a higher level of cherubim that look down on lower level of cherubim, and the cats kind of get mixed into that. Like, some of the cats are seen as high up, some of the cats are seen as low quality, and it kind of causes them to have some infighting between themselves, supposedly. So I think it gets a little deeper as the comic goes, but yeah, like I said, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I'll probably try to pick up the rest of stuff. I don't watch the cartoon, and even though it was only 13 episodes, the cartoon I thought was decent. Of course, it's watered down from the comic book, I'm sure.
Well, you have to on that.
But I enjoyed the cartoon. That was my first introduction to the Wildcats. So yeah, so we'll get into just a little bit of background on a couple of characters. Before we started recording, I asked Sean which one he wanted to cover, and he said Voodoo. So we'll read just a brief moment about her. And her real name was Priscilla Catane, was her real name. She has a unique ability known as the Sight, which allowed her to perceive a being possessed by a daemonite and exorcise it from its host body. She was therefore important to both sides of the war, and she joined the Wildcats and took on the code name Voodoo.
Every time you say Voodoo, I just want to jump into the Labyrinth song. All right, continue.
As we saw in this issue, she was an exotic dancer she's from New Orleans, before being rescued by the Wildcats. Upon joining the Wildcats, she developed more significant and powerful psychic abilities, as well as animalistic powers. She was taken in for training by Zealot in Coda fighting techniques. She also began a long-term relationship with team leader Spartan. Well, now. Okay, then I might have to... eventually, this is going to be some spoilers, so if you've not read anything, this will be a little bit of spoilers. Eventually, it says, Voodoo was shot and went into a coma. Void used a computer to enter Priscilla's mind and found out she was descended from a cherubim possessed by a daemonite, making her a cherubim daemonite human hybrid. Bum, bum, bum.
It's like some Assassin's Creed shit going on.
Maybe that's why she can see daemonites. Maybe it's not just because she's cherubim, that's her power. Maybe it's because she's half daemonite as well, or a third daemonite as well, maybe. So yeah, that's just a little bit. I don't want to read much because, I want to cover a few more things. And then mine was, as I said earlier, mine was Grifter. His real name is Cole Cash. And he had a brother named Max Cash, apparently. So,
all right, Cole.
You hush. Yeah. Cole Cash, you hush. Cole Cash, the Grifter, a soldier, mercenary, petty criminal who was a core member of the Wildcats. There are various accounts of Cole's early youth. His father died while he was still young, and Cole and his brother Max were raised by their mother and stepfather. With his mother dying, Cole was already an adult. However, his mother died while he was still young, and he and his brother were raised by their father, or I guess stepfather. It is certain, though, that Cole left his family while still a teenager and turned to crime to survive. Despite being a criminal, Cole had his own code of honor and stopped one of his partners in crime from shooting at the police. He was arrested and offered a second chance. He was enlisted by the International Operations and turned out to be a gifted marksman and excellent soldier. And it would say that he would later on join something called Team 7. That would be before the Wildcats. And then, as I mentioned earlier, He would run into Zealot. She would teach him the ways of the Coda, how to fight, their beliefs. They would have a relationship that would run for a little while. They still remained friends, but they just weren't romantically involved. And I want to say I'd read somewhere, I think it's in this original run, or it might have been the DC run, that he actually takes over leadership of the Wildcats for a little while. So something apparently must happen to Spartan, I guess, at some point.
They're Damonites. Every one of them.
You can't trust nobody these days.
I'll take them.
Get real, Zealot. You don't stand a chance without me.
Just don't get in my way, Grifter.
We posted a couple of questions on our socials. Sean had posted just general questions, if anybody had any. And did you get any responses to that, man?
Before I get to that, I
Sure.
have a response from our girl Autumn, friend of the show, from last episode.
Okay.
She says she loved the episode, read the Wonder Woman appearance like 10 minutes before she listened to it. It was a good read. Also, it's cool that I dug Miss Marvel and the Marvels. She loved both. Miss Marvel is one of her favorite Disney Plus series, and besides big events like No Way Home and Deadpool and Wolverine, the Marvels is her favorite post-Endgame.
Okay.
And I told her thanks for checking it out.
Yeah, for sure.
And she loved Kamala as a character.
Okay.
Her stuff is always fun.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you, Autumn, for the feedback.
For sure.
And let's get to the questions. All right, so first question comes in from our pal Rick Hard. He says, do you have a favorite sci-fi writer?
If he's talking like strictly novels, I unfortunately haven't really read any sci-fi novels. Like I read a couple of like vampire novels here and there. I don't guess you could really consider that sci-fi. As far as like movie adaptations of a sci-fi writer, I would go with Dune. So whoever that gentleman was that wrote the novel Dune, I'll say that would be mine, because at least the movie adaptation I really enjoyed. So I'll say that. What about you, man?
I'm going to go with the Star Wars books, the ones I always talk about, the Darth Bane trilogy. And that dude's name was Drew Carfson.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm butchering the hell out of that, but
I don't say they've been doing those novels for quite a while, haven't they?
well,
I'm sorry, Star Wars novels in general.
Star Wars in general. I think that's the only three he wrote. I'll have to go back and research, but those three are bangers.
Are they, are they like gap fillers for the films?
No, these take place, I think, 1,000 years before the prequels.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
It's fascinating because in those books you find out why there's only two Sith.
Okay.
He's the one that creates that rule.
Okay,
The
cool.
rule of two.
Rule of two.
All right, we may get into that on another podcast. Okay, this comes in from Faith Smith, and she writes, who do you guys really think should have won, Batman or Superman? I'm assuming she's talking about the film.
Probably. Or it could have been the Dark Knight Returns comic too. Batman, I think, because, I mean, he had Superman down with the kryptonite. He had him weakened.
And that's kind of like the age-old story with them, too, right? He always has a kryptonite ring.
He's always got a backup plan. If you go by, was it New 52 or it may have been even before that, he was asked the question before like that. He's like, well, what happens if we go bad? He's like, oh, I've got a backup plan for everybody.
Yeah.
He's like, somebody even found like a room at the Justice League, like the satellite, and he had attaché cases or whatever you want to call it, contingency plans for every member of the Justice League.
Was that in the animated series?
It might have been in the animated series too, but it might have been an adaptation of a comic book story too. I don't remember.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, he had like kryptonite for Superman, and honestly, I don't remember what the other ones were. So Batman's always prepared. He's like 500 steps ahead of everybody else. So honestly, I would have to go with Batman.
Okay.
Because by that time, Batman was kind of, people always say, well, Batman don't kill. Yes, he does. He does kill at some point.
It goes back and forth.
It does. I would say Batman on that one.
Thank you, Faith. I'm going to save some of your other questions for our next episode.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
This last one on my end comes from Brianna Cockrum.
Okay.
She goes, what category would you put yourself in if given the choice? Hero, villain, or anti-hero, and why?
Hero, villain, or anti-hero? I'd probably have to go with hero. I've always been that way. Every time I've watched movies or read comics, I'm always rooting for the hero. I'm always rooting for the good guy, so I had to put myself in that.
You're always the Leonardo.
I'm always the Leonardo. I'm always the He-Man. I'm always the Brave Star. So I have to say the hero for me. As bland as that might be. What about you?
I would have to go with anti-hero because I like helping people.
Yeah.
But I like doing it my way.
Mm-hmm.
And
so you can't like Magneto anymore. He's a villain.
He's an anti-hero. He's the pure definition of anti-hero.
He wanted to wipe out the whole human race.
Yeah, after they tried to wipe his people out.
Only a section. Wait a minute. You talking about the Jewish people or the mutants?
Oh, don't even get me started on the Jewish people.
Okay, I was getting ready to say now, because we go back on that one, that's not the whole human race.
They wanted to wipe out all the mutant kind.
Okay. That's true.
All right.
Stupidity made them, yeah, that's true.
All right.
But still, violence begets more violence. He shouldn't have went that way.
Listen, we can go MLK and,
I know that, but still. He should have known if he come at him at violence, it's just going to make him like double down on, hey, look, these mutants need to be dead because look, that one's going to kill us.
I mean, he ain't just going to roll over and take it.
Well, no. Wound them.
They're
break a
literally,
leg or something.
They're putting collars on them like animals.
He's got magnetic powers. Just fucking wipe their electronics out for a little while.
I mean, he did that too.
He did that too. X-Men 97, he did do that. That's true. All right, man. I've got a couple. And this was actually on a different Discord that I follow that's not ours. The first one is from Charlie from Give Me Back My Action and Horror Movie podcast. He says, what was the most memorable comic book you remember getting as a kid?
Okay, so I got two answers for this because the only comic I really got as a kid was the 25th issue of Spider-Man 2099, that one with the cool cover.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't read it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wasn't into comics until I turned like 21.
Right.
So my real answer, if not being a kid is okay, is House of M. As soon as I read that, it was over.
Okay, that's a great story, yeah.
You're welcome, Vampiro.
I really did not get into comics until I was a teenager, so I guess you could say a kid.
Yeah, that counts.
I was probably 90, 93, 94, and mine would be the Green Lantern story with Hal Jordan that we covered. That would be mine, because that was probably one of the first comics I'd ever read besides the death of Superman. So it was probably the Green Lantern story that we covered with Hal Jordan. That was probably my most memorable one that I had. We have another one from Old Man Brad. If they made Wildcats into a movie, who would you love to see in it? Also, from Wildcats, are there any other team comics you loved from Image during this time period? I never read any other Image comics at this time period, so that one I'll have to say 0 because I didn't read any. So what about you? And as far as the movie goes, oh Lord, I don't know. Hell, I do Henry Cavill as Spartan because he's kind of a Superman kind of character, I guess. Ooh, gosh. I don't know. That's something I'd have to think about on who I would want as cast members. Maul would probably have to be CG, more than likely. He's like a Hulk kind of guy. Grifter? I don't know. I don't know who I'd want as Grifter. Yeah, I'll have to come back on that one, Brad. I'll have to message you on that one, my answer. What about you, man?
Okay, as far as the movie goes,
yeah,
just take all the X-Men people and just throw them right in there.
Okay.
Because they'll fit.
Hugh Jackman could be Grifter.
Oh, God, no.
Sorry,
I take it back.
No, Warblade, because Warblade's almost like Wolverine. He's got those blades he can make with his stuff, so.
I take it back. Although Ryan Reynolds would make a good Grifter.
Okay, I agree. Yeah.
And what's his name would make a good...
the dude who played Cable?
Yeah.
He's too tall. I know. Don't start with me.
We're going that.
He's shorter than Wolverine is, I think.
So that matters now. I want you.
It does with Wildcats.
This is documented.
It does with Wildcats.
Just so you know.
Because Hugh Jackman's a better actor.
Every time you say Hugh Jackman, I'm going to pop in that clip. Every edit. All right. So the second question, I have the same answer because I've never read Wildcats or any of the universes before in
Image? 1992, I wasn't, like I said, if I was reading anything, it would have been DC, like Green Lantern or something like that. Like I said on the Spawn, I never read the Spawn comics ever. I never read the WildC.A.T.S comics until this right here. So yeah, unfortunately, I can't answer that one. I don't have one on that one. And the last one that I'm going to read off, excuse me, next to last, that I'm going to read off is from Mickey. And he wants to know, what was our favorite McFarlane toy of that period?
Ooh. Okay, mine would be the movie toys that I got from you.
Those movie toys are sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are really good. How about you?
Mine would be, I don't know what series it was from the comic book toys that he put out, but I always liked Medieval Spawn.
Yeah.
I had it as a kid. I may still have it somewhere at the house. But yeah, I always loved Medieval Spawn. I even thought about picking up the newer one that he put out not long ago, but I didn't get it though. Yeah, Medieval Spawn was always cool. I always just loved the look of that character. But them movie toys were sweet though. I like those movie toys. A couple more real quick, and then we'll step away from this till next episode. One is from Tony from Facebook. He's a Facebook friend, and he says, how do you feel about the new James Gunn Superman flick that's going to drop in July? From the trailer, what do we think about it?
Okay, I think we touched on this a little bit
Just
earlier.
a little, but now they have released about 5 minutes of additional footage if you haven't seen that yet.
I've not seen that.
Okay.
But I'll still base on my first experience.
Okay.
So, I'm worried. I like that it's going to be like more comedic.
Yeah, that extra footage shows that more, I'll say that.
I'm excited for Crypto.
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited for Guy Gardner.
He is comic book accurate. If people are been bitching about his hairdo, it's like, hey, dude, he's got that hair in the comics.
But I'm worried because James Gunn could take it a whole different direction. And I'm not honestly, I'm really worried with the dude that's playing Superman.
Corn Sweat?
Yeah, I get more Spider-Man vibes from him than I do Superman.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. You definitely can feel, at least from the stuff that I've seen, have some Guardians of the Galaxy vibes to it, which is...
Oh, yeah, it's going to have...
and it's going... But again, I didn't read all of Superman. I never have, I never will, but I'm assuming there was probably a point in the history of the comic books that maybe Superman was a little goofy sometimes, maybe. Yeah, maybe not 66 goofy, but maybe a little goofy sometimes, maybe.
Well, in the 60s and 70s he was.
Yeah, so, I mean, that might be kind of what Gunn's going for. I like the suit. I like the bright blue, the bright red. I like that. That's one thing about Man of Steel I did complain about a little bit. A little too dark, I thought, a little of the suit colors. I like the more brighter comic book, vibrant yellow, red, and blues on the suit.
Well, Superman shouldn't be dark. I mean...
I guess unless you're Red Sun version.
Red Sun or Injustice.
Something like that.
Yeah, just a different take. But
I don't know if anybody ever tried to touch the Injustice. Well, animation-wise, but I mean, like real life-wise, I don't know if anybody would even try that or
That's
not.
what Zack Snyder should have did.
Yeah. I like what I saw. I'm going to go into it cautiously optimistic like I do any movie anymore. That extra little footage I saw definitely did show a little bit more comedy, but nothing I don't think will ruin it. So yeah, I'm happy about it. I'm going to see what somebody else can do with it. Definitely looks more comic book accurate as far as maybe a little bit of the colors and tone and stuff possibly. Maybe, it may even be Silver Age tone maybe. I don't know. Cause he was still a little comedically in Silver Age. Wasn't that 70s? Was that 60s, 70s whenever that age was considered?
Well, once the movie hit in 78, it kind of...
And even it was slightly campy every once in a while.
A little bit, yeah.
Those movies were just slightly a little bit, especially the third movie. Woohoo!
Especially scenes with Hugh Jackman, or not Hugh Jackman, Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman, yeah.
And Otis.
Yeah, I loved Otis.
Yeah, Otis is great.
Miss Tessmacher!
Which I always forget he's in the third Toy Story movie. He plays the bear or whatever.
Oh, wow. Evil, okay. Sweet. So, yeah, Tony, I'm cautiously optimistic about it. Sean's slightly little worried, but still optimistic about it.
I'll still check it out.
So, yeah, we'll check it out in July. That'll fall around our year anniversary as well. So, that'd be a cool possible spoiler review that we might do about the movie.
We have a surprise.
So, and one more, and then we will step away from this. Real quick on this one, Pete, I can't answer this one. I don't think Sean can either. Was JLA versus Godzilla versus Kong accurate? I never read those comics, so unfortunately I can't speak on it.
This is a real comic?
Yeah, they did do a JLA versus Godzilla. Yeah, recently DC did. They took like the legendary films, the American ones that we have with Kong and stuff, and they did a comic book like version of the JLA.
We may have to cover that.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting.
I can't speak on that, Pete. I'm assuming Sean can't speak on it either.
No,
we haven't read those.
Sorry, Pete.
Sorry, Pete.
But if you liked it, let us know, and we'll cover it.
And one more, and let's see. Pete wants to know too. Looney Tunes or Tom and Jerry on the cartoons? Do you prefer Looney Tunes cartoons or Tom and Jerry cartoons?
Okay, well, Looney Tunes is a very, like a bigger, broad area.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Tom and Jerry had some...
I like Tom and Jerry, but I'd probably have to go Looney Tunes because you got Bugs Bunny, you got Elmer Fudd, the Rooster.
Oh, God, the name. Foghorn Leghorn.
Foghorn, that's my guy. I love Foghorn.
I say, boy.
No, let me tell you, boy.
Man, he was always mean to that damn dog.
He was. But the dog always made up for it.
Yep. And I love that, man. I love that.
Yeah.
And
what about you?
God, I don't know. I love a lot of them.
Wile E. Coyote, Roadrunner.
Would Droopy and stuff like that, would that be considered? Well, they weren't in the cartoons, but would that be kind of considered Tom and Jerry universe, or would he still consider Looney Tunes? I don't remember.
I don't know. They kind of shared people.
Yeah, I don't know either. God. Yeah, I guess I'll lean a little bit more toward Looney Tunes, but man, I do like me some Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
I do. I like me some good Tom and Jerry. Because again, it is kind of Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner-esque in a way. So, and this is a comedy question I'm thinking, but I love Pete for this stuff. What is our secret to maintaining our sexiness and our aura? Is it exercise? Is it drugs? Or is it virgin blood?
Okay, well, I've done all three of those, so we're going to have to be more specific.
Oh, God. Look what you did, Pete.
Yep.
Look what you did.
Well, I gave up drugs a long time ago. My wife's no longer a virgin. And
la, la, la.
I do some yoga every now and then, so.
Oh, you're Sting now, man. You're doing some yoga.
Hey,
hey,
can't knock it. It works, man.
All seriousness, I'm not knocking it, man. Hell yeah.
So I'm going to go with gallons of Everclear.
Gallons of Everclear? Okay.
Yes.
Pete, I want you to get real close to your earphones, man, okay? Virgin blood for me. All the way. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, I love Pete. He's one of the co-hosts of...
You know, they're going to put you on a list.
Don't clip that, please. No. Pete's another one of the co-hosts of Giving Back My Action/horror movies. Love Pete to death. He's a great guy.
Thanks for the questions, Pete.
Yeah, thanks for everybody. Charlie, everybody. We'll do a little bit more next episode. We got quite a bit of responses, which I'm very happy about. So we'll cover a couple more next time, too. Before we get out of here, if you want to contact us, we have an Instagram. We have a Facebook. We have a Discord. It's free to join. Don't got to do nothing about that. Just get on there and go click. And there you go. Part of the Discord. We get on there. We talk about comics. We talk about cartoons, movies, wrestling, video games, anything.
Or my favorite food.
Or food. You and them damn tacos.
I love me some tacos.
And also we have an email, geekswithbeardspod@gmail.com. You can send us questions there. I think Sean mentioned last episode, if you got like little audio clips or whatever.
Yeah, if you'd like to send something into the show, I'll post it in. And
yeah, they don't have to be written questions. You can do little audio clips.
Questions or
if you're comfortable listening to your voice on air, you can do that too. Yeah.
Or send me a video and I can strip the audio from it, but send questions, comments, or just a story about anything.
Yeah. Get on our Facebook page, share your collections, whether it's comic collections, toy collections, video game collections, whatever it is. Yeah, for sure.
And if you're into toy reviews, which we're going to post up another one today.
Yeah, we are on YouTube. And we do, like I said, 7 to 12 minute toy reviews of various toys from different eras.
Which one's going to be popping up today, man?
Today we're going to be dropping our Parallax toy review that we did. And it's a DC Direct toy that I own, probably from 2005 or 6 or something like that, I believe it was. Great toy. The McFarlane one that I mentioned in the video that it's already came out by now, I believe. It looks okay, but I prefer that DC Direct one. I just think it looks like way better. Way better toy, I think. And don't forget, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, 5 stars, please. Even if we're terrible,
Yeah.
give us 5 stars, then tell us how terrible we are.
And if there's like something you'd like us to add to the show, take away from the show, let us know.
Yeah, thumbs up on YouTube, please. Subscribe. Like I said, we also have the Sean also puts up the audio because we are, as of right now, just an audio podcast. Besides the toy reviews, so you can listen to that on the background of your TV while you're doing something. So you do that too. So I think all around we try to make y'all happy with our voices and our faces. So next time, what will we be covering, Sean?
Oh, well, since I'm in a Daredevil mood, I think we're going to cover this is supposedly one of the best Daredevil story arcs there is.
Yeah.
So we're going to do The Man Without Fear.
Ooh.
It's a 5-issue series.
I've heard a lot of good things about that over the years. Yeah.
Yes. I'm excited about that.
It'll be my first time reading it again. One of those things. Yeah. I think I might have read a handful of Daredevil a couple years. It was like a Daredevil / Punisher crossover thing that came out a while back, but
yeah.
Hey, I can't wait to watch that or watch it. Can't wait to read Daredevil, man. It'd be awesome.
Same here.
Hell yeah. All right, guys. That was it for this newest episode covering the WildC.A.T.S from 1992. And that was the Geeks with Beards podcast. I'm Dan, and that was Sean, and we will catch you next time. Goodbye, everybody.
Up in the sky, look! It's a bird! It's a plane! It's...
Geeks with Beards. Podcast.
We'll edit this dead space here shortly. Wow, wow, wow. Mm-hmm.